Now it's live.
There we go.
Yay.
Yes.
All right.
All right. You want to get it up on your phone?
I'd love to. You want to do the introductions?
Yeah. Everyone, we're live, and we have with us Matthew W. Quinn, author of a lot of novels, some science fiction, some horror. You have some fantasy as well, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Battle for the Wastelands, you could describe it as secondary world fantasy where there's no magic.
Okay, cool. And hey, Mindy. Mindy is from Mindy's Book Journey, and she's in the room.
Hey, Mindy. She reviewed Battle for the Wastelands and Son of Grendel. So, been a while, Mindy. How are you?
Fabulous.
Cool. Yeah, Mindy's one of our favorite people. She's one of the booktubers we've been following for the longest. She's been, I think, Mindy, you've been doing booktube about 5 years, I do believe, and she does a great job. She has a good channel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and this is Matthew. Matthew, how long have you been writing now?
If you count rejection slips since 2001, if you count writing at all since I was a very little kid, my grandmother, who's a retired teacher, had a typewriter.
You know, I consider somebody who 5 people read their stuff a writer. You know, I mean, not writing should be for personal pleasure first, in my opinion. It's something I'm trying to do is write, but people like you who push out the books, I really admire. Especially like you, someone who has a full-time job, and you're still able to put out the books, and put out quality books as well. Because Matthew, you wrote The Long War. So far, it's a 2-book series, but you say your third one is coming out.
Yeah, the third one is kind of set aside at the moment I finish the second Battle for the Wastelands novel. But the third book, The Walking Worm, is about 16,000 words in, which means probably about a quarter done, because Thing in the Woods is about 56,000 words and The Atlanta Incursion is about 61,000 words.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and they were great reads, both of them. I know The Thing in the Woods is, well, when was The Thing in the Woods released, and when was The Atlanta Incursion released?
The Thing in the Woods first came out in 2017 in May-ish from a Canadian small press called Digital Fiction Publishing.
Okay.
And I eventually got the rights back to it and reissued it, I think sometime in 2020, or I can't remember.
All right. The
publisher decided he didn't want to do novels anymore, and so the original plan was he would publish The Atlanta Incursion, but that wasn't going to happen. So I got the rights back to Thing in the Woods. So except for the audio version, that still belongs to him, but the print and ebook are mine.
I had no idea there was an audio version.
Yeah.
That's okay. So you don't have that one back yet?
Yeah, he still has it, and Amazon's Audible contracts last 7 years, so he might not even be able to revert it to me for another 2, and then I'd have to upload all the files and stuff.
Yeah. Would you keep the same audio version, or would you try to contract a different one?
I'd keep the same audio, because the audio versions of a book are kind of difficult to make. I made an audio version of my short story, I Am the Wendigo. That was my first sale. And I'm part of the podcast Myopia Movies. It's a film podcast. We recorded it on the Gear.
Okay.
And there's 4 parts to the file, and you have to upload each part, and Amazon has to approve it. And for 12 minutes for the I Am the Wendigo is an audiobook. The audiobook for Thing in the Woods is closer to 6 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. I would. Yeah, 6 hours sounds about right. That's probably about how long it took me to get through it.
Huh?
Maybe a little less, but I mean, when you're reading silently, of course, it's a little bit faster usually.
I powered through that thing. I had so much fun with it.
So we are blurry, Tom said. Do we look blurry to you, Matthew?
Yeah, a little bit. You guys do look a bit pixelated.
Oh, that's our internet. It probably will. Has it been like that since we started?
I think so.
Oh, Yeah, our internet out here in the well, I won't call it what I normally call it, but out here in the middle of nowhere, is like this sometimes, and it'll usually fix itself. I don't know why it does this. Maybe if I move the camera a bit, get Becky in there a little more too.
I get to be part of this.
Yeah, you do.
I'm so excited.
And you just can't hide it.
I usually can't. Just ask anybody.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you the setting for. Just to preface, Scott and I have read the Long War novels, and that's it, because we apparently aren't very good preparation artists. And I want to know,
horror focused, right?
Yes.
So the Long War novels, so for those out there in Radio Land, Thing in the Woods and the Atlantic Incursion, those are my horror novels. Little People, Big Guns is kind of a horror crime farce. The rest is sci-fi or fantasy.
I do look forward to that Little People, Big Guns. That sounds really cool.
He gave us an out. I'm happy for this. But I wanted to ask you if you've. I had it written out somehow. The universe or the storyline. Have you been thinking about the Long War as a whole for a long time, or did it just come to you like in a flash, or what?
Yeah, I think it came to me relatively late because The Thing in the Woods was never intended to be a series. It was just a standalone book.
Okay.
But then if I want to continue the story, what happens next? So, I mean, I think I had the idea for the Atlantic Incursion by the end of The Thing in the Woods, because there's Chekhov's monster blood to the face for James.
I wondered about that. I think what comes next is James loses his ever-loving mind.
Well, for a while, that's what he thinks he is.
Yeah. You know, the ending, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending of the Atlantic Incursion, Becky was kind of on the side of the...
Kind of sort of on the side of the
government individual.
The government jerk.
And I was on the side of James. So I like how that happened, how you kind of left it up, and you're not preaching as to whose side anybody should be on.
Well, it's, I guess, the moral grayness, if you will. I mean, Bolton should not have dragged Eli into it, and James is being supremely petty. But then again, we are talking about his best friend for years.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's no one really comes out of this looking good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a little less of a government apologist, I guess, than I would say Becky is. So
it's not a government apologist so much as I understand where he was coming from in some aspects. Not the Eli thing, but in pretty much everything else, where he's trying desperately to keep James alive, and James isn't having it.
Well, all right. Let's stop there. Okay. we're not going to go more into that because I don't want to spoil this. But yeah, I love a book. I love a book that gets us talking like that. And the Atlantic Incursion definitely did. Even though I think I would be hard pressed to choose which one was my favorite between the two. Let's put it that way.
I enjoyed them about equally.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the four-wheeler scene in The Thing in the Woods was creepy and extremely well done. I like that a lot. But yeah. All right, next question. What do you got?
I have so many. But we can start at the top. Who do you read? Who are your influences for your story?
Let's see. Have you heard of S.M. Stirling?
Yes.
Yeah, S.M. Stirling. I have a lot of books by him.
Dies the Fire is a masterpiece.
Yeah, I went in old school. My first S.M. Stirling was the Draka.
I have not read that one. Okay.
That one's a little complicated and it's really controversial. Let's see. There's let's see who else. Sterling E. Lanier. He wrote a book. There's Hiero's Journey and the Unforsaken Hiero. 5,000 years after a nuclear war, a telepathic Catholic priest fights evil mutants in what used to be Canada.
Whoa, that sounds cool.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that author. What was his name again?
E. Lanier.
Sterling E. Lanier.
Is this something I need to write down?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Hierro, Hiero, Hiero's Journey and the Unforsaken Hiero. The problem is he never wrote the third book.
Oh,
Yeah.
On Tor.com, like on 2020, this woman who is his goddaughter claims she was writing the third book. But I tried looking her up on Google, see if she had any Twitter or email or something I could check on it, and crickets.
okay. Well,
This is a really good question.
yeah, I like this question.
She says, "How do you categorize your horror if it were to fit into one of the 4 horror mayhem categories?"
Remind me, which one are those? What are they?
So we have supernatural
Creatures.
supernatural beings / creatures. Got I just drew a blank. Gothic horror. We've got cosmic horror, and we've got folk horror.
You said it right.
I wasn't going to do it to you.
Okay, yeah. I would say cosmic because of how things go. but how would you do that?
Well, it kind of fits in many of them, like supernatural or creature. You have the thing in the woods and the kindred critters in the Atlanta incursion. But cosmic horror, these are things from beyond. But folk horror, the small town creepy cult stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And
you know what? I didn't even think about that for the folk horror aspect.
And the first book even has kind of a gothic feel to it with the small town closeness.
Yeah, my friend Daniel Suddes, he's on Myopia Movies, and he called it, adolescent Southern Gothic by way of Clive Barker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, I like that. I am a Clive Barker.
There's not enough leather, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm pretty sure Amber would not go for the leather thing the way Clive Barker would.
No, especially they're close to the end of Atlanta incursion. We find out that there's no way that Amber would go for anything like that. I like Amber.
And we were very surprised by the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know how to do it without saying spoilers, but by a core belief that she has there at the end of the second book, and it sparked an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think Amber, is from the beginning always being depicted as very religious. She just fails to live up to that in some respects because she's just phenomenally insecure.
Yeah,
which is kind of sad.
We almost forgot about her religious aspects and her religious upbringing because
I think everything else that was happening just sort of washed it away.
Yeah, it did. I mean, there was so much going on that it was just something she didn't bring up, didn't think about. Well, we had, okay. Well, again, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but again, very, very interesting. And again, I love a book that'll get us talking, and that scene actually got us talking a lot.
Yeah.
And let's see.
Well, now, damn it, Hamilton, stop it.
Hamilton Thompson.
Whoever you are.
Yeah, Becky's a big fan of blue alien romances.
No, they're just alien romances. They're not all blue.
Most of them are blue.
Some of them are blue. They started out that way.
Later in the series, they're introduced a concept of human kraken hybrids, but there's not any romance going on there at all.
Well, I guess it depends on what you classify as romance, right?
Don't start.
and that all depends on what you read. And Becky reads some smut. Let me tell you, she likes.
I read everything.
Yeah, she does. I would say you're a little less eclectic than I am. Would you?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
But we were glad to have you agree to do this interview. Have you done interviews like this before on YouTube? Or
I'm not. I've been on podcasts. Like I was on the 100th episode of the Blasters and Blades podcast.
Okay.
Discuss Thing in the Woods. I'm going to probably be back when the second Battle for the Wastelands book comes out to discuss those two books.
All right. Which one would you prefer I read first? Battle for the Wastelands or or was that other one you said? I don't think Becky wrote that one down yet.
I didn't write that one down.
Battle for the Wastelands, then Son of Grendel, because even though Son of Grendel takes place chronologically earlier, it explains something that is referenced in Battle for the Wastelands.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be the one I'll pick up next. Then will be Battle of the Wastelands. Now, the other one though, it shows number 0, right?
Yeah, because it's Battle for the Wastelands is number 1. The one I'm
Right.
working on now is Serpent Sword is number 2. Son of Grendel takes place about a year before Battle for the Wastelands, so it would be
Okay.
book 0 or book 0.5 or however it is with prequel novellas.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Do you read graphic fiction as well, like comics and?
Well, I do have Gareth Hines' comic book adaptation of Beowulf, where Grendel is depicted as a 10-foot tall black metal-skinned lizard man with dreads.
Oh wow!
And I took a class on like Scandinavian Norse culture, and I had a 90-year-old like Swedish guy as my professor. I brought him for him to look at it, and he loved it.
Cool.
And I contributed to a Kickstarter project for a graphic novel called The Few and the Curse. It's like a Western in a world where the ocean just for the most part disappeared. So it's like the Hawaiian mountains.
Yeah, you're speaking my language there. I love some Westerns.
You might like Battle for the Wastelands, like the post-apocalyptic steampunk Western.
Love
or
it.
The Dark Tower meets Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I'm out.
No, you're not. She'll read it because it's not Stephen King. The Dark Tower pissed her off.
I didn't like the end that much either.
Yeah.
So just see the movie. The movie is the last turn of the wheel.
Okay. I'm gonna watch the movie.
Okay.
Maybe it'll make me less mad at Stephen King.
Of course, somehow he's turned into Idris Elba, but Idris Elba just whoops everybody, so who cares?
Right?
Idris Elba's so cool.
we'll make an exception for Idris Elba.
Yeah.
And Matthew McConaughey just chews on the scenery. He's just having fun.
Man, I'll tell you what, he chews up more scenery now than Nicolas Cage. I mean, Nicolas Cage can chew up some scenery, but Matthew McConaughey with his Lincoln commercials.
Oh Lord.
Good God, I hate those things. I like a lot of Matthew McConaughey stuff. Mud was really great.
But I think he'd be a great choice for the Man in Black. Man in Black was kind of a jump the shark over the top individual anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the movie.
Okay.
I'm gonna force myself after the disaster those books were.
So,
never been so mad in my life.
So, which series that you've worked on are you planning to like? Are you planning to further? I know you're planning to further the Battle for the Wastelands and the Long War. Do you have others that?
Long War can just go forever.
Right.
Middle-aged James and Amber are fighting aliens on another planet for all we know.
Yeah.
But the Wasteland series ends with 9 or 10 books.
Okay.
Or I can just end it at 6 if it's not selling well enough. Just depends on who escapes the city under siege and who dies.
Do you prefer you publishing them yourself over going over a publishing company?
They have its pluses and minuses, because a writer I learned a lot from is James R. Tuck. And small presses are like run by 1 or 2 people who are really passionate, but don't necessarily have great business skills. And the big publishers, and there used to be 6 of them, now they keep consolidating. So, might be, if you can't get a deal with a big publisher, which is, like you're very lucky to get one, you might as well self-publish it. Unless you're a big or small press like Bain. Have you heard of Bain?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I Battle for the Wastelands, it made the second round of judging at Bain. They rejected it, but Gray Reinhardt sent me like a whole bunch of pages of editor notes. He didn't have to do that at all.
Okay.
And that was my last set of revisions I made for Battle for the Wastelands before I self-published it. So, mad props to Gray Reinhardt there.
Yeah,
And
Bain has released a whole lot of pretty famous science fiction.
yeah, Weber, Ringo, um,
Yeah, those are the two that I know the most.
David Drake.
That's the name I was trying to pull out right there, David Drake. He's still around, isn't he? Writing David Drake?
I don't know. I haven't ever actually read any David Drake. I've read some of Ringo, like I read some of the Posleen books. I've read the first two of Eric Flint's 1632, but not anymore.
Okay.
Trying to think.
Yeah,
And
to get
Sterling was
that far,
published by Bain for a while.
yeah, to get that far with that company, that's great. I mean, they publish a lot of good stuff and a lot of big stuff, so that's great. Do you ever think you'll attempt to try to go back to a publisher?
Not for Long War or Battle for the Wastelands, because once you start self-publishing a series, you kind of, unless they buy up the whole thing. Like, have you heard of Marco Kloos?
I don't think so.
The first book is called Terms of Enlistment. The series is called Frontlines. He self-published it, and it got so popular that Amazon bought it up. So they put it out with all these new swanky covers.
Wow.
And then there was the guy who wrote a book series called Men of Valor, H. Paul Hansinger. He died of either COVID or something he got in the hospital after COVID, because he was in the hospital for bladder cancer and things just one after another.
Oh,
he
wow.
self-published those, and Amazon bought them up. So conceivably, the Long War or Battle of the Wastelands could be getting so popular that Amazon sci-fi or fantasy imprints could buy it up. But realistically, it's going to just probably keep self-publishing. I have some other stuff I could conceivably send to a publisher first.
Okay.
But
that's what
not
happened with
those.
Ruby Dixon.
Yeah. Becky reads an author named Ruby Dixon, and that's what she did. She self-published on Amazon and just started selling probably hundreds of thousands of copies on Amazon for $1.99 or $2.99 or whatever it was, and even put it on Kindle Unlimited, and it just went nuts. Her stuff went nuts, and now it's being I don't know if it's I don't know if it's Amazon who's producing it or what, but now you see it Barnes and Noble. You see it in every Barnes and Noble. You'll find
the Barnes and Noble will not buy books they can't return. Most bookstores won't. So if it's in a bookstore, if it's in a lot of them as opposed to a consignment deal of an individual bookstore, then it's probably from a real publisher. Yeah, and I see Kelly talking about they buy the series, get the rights, and cancel it. There is that.
Yeah.
Or I had some ideas for another small press is interested in Battle for the Wastelands. I have some ideas for a later book in the series. I'm pretty sure that press and its readership wouldn't like.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that not having control and not being able to put out what you want to put out. I totally understand how that could get in the way of doing that. That's one of the things we did an interview last week. That's one of the things Nikki was talking about, is losing control, and how she never even thought about mainstream publishing because she's such a control freak. And I've heard that from one other author as well, that somebody interviewed, and she was releasing this historical fiction series, and it drove her nuts to lose control of her own stuff.
Yeah, I have a book that I started writing and finished partway. It's like an oral history of an alien invasion. It's World War Z meets Independence Day.
Oh, cool.
That'd be a one shot. So that's something I could send to a publisher. I mean, the one thing I could think of is, another collection of stories set in that universe.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
More interviews, but it would not be a continuing series the way the Long War or Battle for the Wastelands could conceivably be.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of most fantasy stuff now. They're asking for most authors to do trilogies these days. Mm-hmm. Now we know of one guy who, one of the companies said, we want this to be a 5-book series, and he gave them the first 2. They published those, and then before he could ever write the third one, they said, okay, we want the next 3 books in one book. and so he's having to wrap it up that way. That would drive me insane. I don't know if I could put up with that from a publisher or not, but now he's got like an 1,800-page manuscript that they're actually going to publish, and I just don't understand why a publishing company could do that to an author, but it's a business first and foremost. I mean, it's a moneymaker. If they're not making money, then they got to figure something out. But I understand.
Do we know what the Sanderson Kickstarter is?
Yes.
Yeah, Brandon Sanderson did a Kickstarter of like $40 million.
Yeah, and he
like three books that no one knew he was writing.
He only asked for what, less than $1 million or something like that, and he got over 40.
Something like that. He also has done large-scale Kickstarters before, I'm told, but nothing on that scale. And I vaguely thought about using Kickstarter as a sort of a pre-order and to defray the costs of, say, like I sent you the link to the cover and book copy for The Walking Worm. That's a Long War 3.
Mm-hmm.
So having already bought the cover, I haven't paid for the editing yet because and formatting hasn't finished the magazine. So I finished the manuscript.
Okay.
I could conceivably do a small Kickstarter just to cover the cost, so everything going in can be profit, because I have a little spreadsheet, profit and loss spreadsheet. Even though I make money most every month, all the production and advertising costs, still haven't paid them all off.
Right. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would be happy to back one of your Kickstarters if you wanted to do that. And yeah, let's see.
It's like a $1,000 Kickstarter to finish off cover the costs for The Walking Worm and be done with it. Easy peasy. Everyone will get their prize because probably with that many signing up for it.
Yeah. I definitely look forward. We were talking about it. I was like, all right, I wonder when the next one's coming out, because since it was set in 2010, I wasn't sure when the Atlanta Incursion was written. I didn't go back to look. I finished it this morning, so I didn't get a chance to do all that much.
I don't think it ever explicitly says what year it is.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you really know about like the sports schedules, like when James is and the Men in Black are going through the MARTA tunnel, and he picks up on the people thinking about the basketball game that night and what teams were playing in Atlanta and what night in October.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you did your research on that.
And sort of Eli is sort of proto-Occupy, and Javion is sort of proto-Black Lives Matter, but those movements hadn't actually started yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can kind of vaguely figure out when it takes place, especially with Thing in the Woods, like with the housing crisis.
Yeah.
I like this question.
Okay.
Oh, Kelly. It's called the 000 section of the library, where all the Bigfoot and conspiracy theory stuff is. If you go with the Wendigo being like a Bigfoot, a more aggressive and carnivorous one, as opposed to, a ripped vegetarian, then that's where you read about it in the book section.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to read that. I Am the Wendigo for Folk Horror Week. I'm going to read that for that week, and I also have a story by Algernon Blackwood called The Wendigo, I believe.
Yeah, I think Algernon Blackwood's The Wendigo might have been in one of the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, okay.
I do remember reading those when I was little. Those have the most disturbing illustrations.
Yes, they do.
Really
and there is a Wendigo story, and there is a line, the whole flaming, being dragged by your feet till they burn off thing. That's in there. It might be the story by Algernon Blackwood.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading that story for folk horror as well. Week 4.
Okay.
By Algernon Blackwood. She's already read a couple of Blackwood stories. Man, he's a master.
I have discovered a love for Algernon Blackwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, who are you reading right now, if you're reading anyone?
Okay, well, my uncle is a retired Marine and Gulf War vet, and he's recommended I read Generation Kill. which is like a Rolling Stone reporter rode with a Marine recon into Iraq, and this is like his story. And in Battle for the Wastelands, there is the villain Grendel receives gold bars in tribute, and they have what's obviously the Marines globe and anchor and eagle on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some hints there is a surviving civilization descended from the U.S. Marines in this world. Like the Dark Tower has hints about what came before. But never explicitly said, there's no Statue of Liberty and Charlton Heston screaming, you blew it up. And but there is a conspiracy theory that the Iraq War is actually launched to capture a Stargate from Saddam Hussein.
Really?
Well, that's fun.
So the idea is maybe some of the men in black were embedded with the Marines or Army that went into Baghdad to capture the Stargate from Saddam. It wouldn't be Bolton, the Men in Black guy, because he has his own story, but it could be someone else. Because there's a TV Tropes article called "Saved by Canon," where it's a Mad Magazine riff on like Yoda and Palpatine's battle in the Senate. Cannot defeat you, I cannot, but defeat me, you cannot. And Palpatine's like, is because we are equal and opposite warriors on the great almighty force? No, because the sequels have already been made. So there might be MJ-12 guys going into Baghdad with the army, but it won't be Bolton.
Okay. Yeah, you could go so many places with a long war.
Yeah, I mean he talks about Aztec, New Mexico. That's one story. Bolton apparently has some history with Dulce Base, which you get like UFO conspiracy land. That's where Men in Black and Greys were experimenting on people, but MJ-12 in this story is much less jerkish than a lot of the Men in Black are. So maybe it wasn't them who was experimenting on humans alongside the Greys. So like Bolton's story there would be like 1990. So we can just it's a pretty big world, especially the more conspiracy weirdo stuff you get into.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that too.
Yeah. What does that mean?
You mean the bottom one?
Yeah.
It auto-corrected it. It's what do you have in the works right now?
Yeah, he's answered that one.
I know.
All right, there's Battle for the Wastelands #2, Serpent Sword. I'm probably about half done with that. The Walking Worm, that's Long War #3. The Shadow Men, that's Long War #4.
Okay.
I have an idea for just something I'd knock out real quick called Praying Mantis. Mantis with praying with an E. The idea is somewhere in West Florida, the praying mantises were eating bugs that have been contaminated by a meth lab and grow to human size.
Oh, wow. That sounds so cool.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Prophecy?
Yes.
Yeah, the eco horror one from the 70s.
Oh, have we seen that one?
I'm not sure.
I was thinking about the Prophecy from the early 90s or late 80s.
No,
the
killer, the mutant bear deformed by mercury poisoning that walks on two legs.
No, I have not seen that.
Haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so I could have like a just hideously deformed human-sized praying mantis because its parents have been eating birds and bugs contaminated by meth production.
So cool.
Kelly, to answer your question, I do know some writers in the chapter and what they're doing at the moment, but I don't have inside information. Like a lot of it. I mean, I know some stuff like Cherry Weiner is an agent who like knows everybody forever, and she's a member of the Atlanta chapter. And she talks about how like no one's going to want plague stories for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I might have an inside view at some industry trends, but not deep inside information.
Okay.
Well, I know one plague story people didn't like, and that happened with a horror publishing company just a few weeks ago.
Do tell.
Yeah. Somebody came out with a book called The White Plague, and it was about
that thing with Silver Shamrock.
Yes. It was about a plague engineered to kill only white people. And
Silver Shamrock basically committed like very, very quick business suicide.
Yeah, 2 days after they released that, they had to close their doors from the backlash. So, but yeah, I mean, nobody wants to hear about that kind of plague for sure. But plague books, I guess I'm not turned off from them, but I can see why people would be for sure after the last.
I mean, with the Long War taking place earlier, and eventually the masquerade, the cover-up will break because, in the world of Twitter and smartphones, it's a lot, Bolton's job is going to get a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, so many people he's had to buy in already. Like have you ever read Dean Koontz's book, The Watchers?
Yes.
Like the Men in Black guys have to basically recruit local muscle, like the local sheriff, which means his deputies. That means 10, 20 people. And so the thing in the woods, the Eddington Police Department's in the know. The Atlanta incursion, the Atlanta government is in the know. So a lot of people already know they're just not talking. Something's going to crack. And at that point, it'll go full alternate history. So there probably won't be COVID, won't be Trump, won't be, maybe might be something with Putin. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it won't be getting a modern politics. It might touch on some social issues a bit, like in The Walking Worm is get into opiate addiction. But it's not going to be beat you in the head with a brick issues books, because a lot of this stuff simply would have happened very differently if there's a big reveal about alien contact and secret war and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not. Now, I said I would be turned off by plague things, but about modern political things, I think I definitely could be. So I appreciate, the alternate history stuff there. I think that could be very refreshing. I like that a lot.
So this is actually a question I plan to ask. I know every writer has a different method. So do you meticulously outline your stories from beginning to the very end, or do you sort of fly by the seat of your pants? I know some authors.
Mostly a plotter, a little bit of a pantser.
Okay.
Like in the earliest versions of Battle for the Wastelands, the characters Catalina Merrill and Falky Grendelson were not in it. I just added them as I went along, but the bare bones of the story have been around since I was in high school. And Thing in the Woods was actually originally a short story.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I started, the more I wrote on it, the longer it got. And the earliest version of the complete story, the scene where Bolton is in the barbecue shop trolling the cult leader. I know what you know, what we know, round and around it goes, like Dune. That was not originally in the story, but I had a guy from my writing group named Robbie Hilliard. He's part of the con scene in Atlanta. He reviewed it, and he said, that you bring in the Men in Black guy at the very end, you have no idea he was even there. So I wrote that whole scene where he's in the barbecue shop just to make sure, the Chekhov's gun is on the mantle before it's fired.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
Love that scene. But yeah, do your characters ever run away with you? I know a lot of people when they're writing, they have this very, very clear idea of where they want their scene to go, but they start writing their dialogue and their characters just go somewhere else.
Yeah, the bit at the end with James and Bolton, that was something that in the very end when he's talking to Amber about what he wants to do. That was new. Actually, on Twitter somewhere, this is now James Daly's Sith apprentice. Bolton embodies the power and James wants it.
I want to smack him.
I think, I'm not a writer yet. I'm not an author yet. But I do think that probably every author, whether they want to admit it or not, is a pantser in one way or another. You have to be, right? Nothing you sit and plot, no matter how heavily you sit and plot, it's not going to 100% come out on the page. I don't know how anybody could be a plotter only, how anybody could prepare for everything.
Especially not if you're writing good characters. good believable characters.
Yeah, I think there has to be some pantsing involved. Surely every author does that. I don't know.
I like to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean posts about the White Plague. I think that is a book I'd heard of before. This whole disaster with the other White Plague book.
Yeah.
But titles can't be copyright. Like there are other books called The Thing in the Woods, but Thing in the Woods, although its title is so generic, my only ideas for titles wouldn't really work. Like one idea I had was The God of the Wet Wood, which someone actually said sounded like porn. And another one was Peckerwood's Swamp God. Peckerwood is actually a racial. Peckerwood is actually a racial slur for poor whites. So yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, but yeah, I love it. I love both titles, but yeah, I think they're meant for different books, maybe.
Have you seen the movie Matawan?
I
believe the coal miner strike.
What's that?
It's about the coal miner strike, and that issue comes up.
Really? No, maybe we haven't seen that. Sounds very familiar, but I don't think we've seen that one.
Yeah,
is it a documentary?
I took a grad school class, and it talked about like the labor movement, and Matawan is about like the use of race to try and break up labor movements and how labor movement could transcend race, white workers and black workers together.
Okay. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, so I only seen a little bits of it. I heard it was good.
Okay. Let's check that out.
Well, yeah. So along those lines, your books, well, the two we read, are very heavily about race issues.
Well, the second one especially.
Well, even the first one, there's very, very heavy mention of race issues. Was that something you set out to do, or did it sort of find its way in?
Well, this is the rural South, so that's always that's going to be something people are thinking about. Now that to have it completely not discussed at all probably not be realistic. Although you can tell, even Phil, the cult leader, has lines he won't cross. Like when the Reed is calling that guy what he's calling him, and Phil's like, no.
Yeah.
One of my very, very favorite things about that book, and I told Scott this, was that there's a scene where they are actively talking about, and this is about the very, very beginning of the book, so it's not spoilery.
Well, don't say what they do.
No, they're actively talking about murdering someone, and in the next sentence, they're talking about how it's awful that boy didn't marry that girl he got pregnant. Or like,
yeah,
what?
We don't cotton to gender-based double standards in these parts. Plus, I knew a guy in Griffin who he admitted his marriage was a shotgun wedding. So somebody was making somebody do something.
Oh my God. I love the double standard.
Yeah.
They're doing something so horrendous. And it's the having a kid out of wedlock that offends them.
Yeah.
Kelly, that's funny. The terror of the morning wood.
Oh,
wow.
Oh man.
And so I just finished reading Ring Shout. I was weirdly uncomfortable with how racially based it was, but I guess that's the point. Yeah,
with
Ring Shout, the Klansman on the cover. So I mean,
yeah. And I can see how it would make some uncomfortable. Now in this book, in your two books, I was never uncomfortable with it. It didn't delve that deeply into it to make anybody uncomfortable.
I was uncomfortable with how close it was to home.
Yeah.
I was raised in Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland, Georgia.
Oh.
Cleveland, Georgia.
Yeah, Cleveland, Georgia.
Well, you have the same problems in the North. We thought about Cleveland, Ohio. Like I read a book, The Origin of the Urban Crisis. It talks about stuff in the North that was just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I actually saw a YouTube video not too long ago about skinheads in California. You know, that's not something you think about very much, but there's probably, I mean, of course, there's a lot more people in California, but they seem to have more of a presence there than they do down here, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I find it kind of surprising.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
considering where we live.
yeah.
Okay. So this one, I asked this of all authors, and I think it's just because I have none. What are your writing habits? How do you approach writing?
Well, I'll toot my own horn a bit. I'm very creative, but the downside is I tend to dawdle a little bit. So I commit to having a chapter for writing group before it's written. Deadlines. Okay. Like that's how I got Battle for the Wastelands, Thing in the Woods, Little People, Big Gun, and Atlanta Incursions done. Those are Little People, Big Guns, and The Atlanta Incursion done was by just committing to have chapters done, whether they're ready or not. And my last chapter of Serpent Sword, the second Battle for the Wastelands book, that's what I did. I committed to have it done. It's just right now we're at the end of the school year.
Oh yeah.
So I need more time for school stuff. Like when we're done here, I need to do some lesson plans and grading.
So, any idea when the second book of that series will be out?
I was hoping to have it out last year, but I realized even if I did finish it last year, it would have to come out either very early this year, because putting out at the end of the year, it would be in the dead zone. I mean, maybe if I put it out before Christmas, people would say, hey, buy it for Christmas, your Christmas Kindle. But I mean, the original Battle for the Wastelands, I think I released in December of 19, and Little People, Big Guns came out in November of 19. So, I mean, plus I wouldn't be rushing. So, I mean, fingers crossed I want to have Serpent Sword out sometime this year. But realistically, The Walking Worm wouldn't be out till next year. I mean, I could bang out Praying Mantis real fast.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in our world, so I don't need to do a lot of research.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Here's Mindy. Looking forward to the Serpent Sword. Well, me too.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I definitely. I know, Mindy, you liked the first two. So, Serpent Sword, I think, is better because Battle of the Wastelands, and Son of Grendel, I wrote probably 10 plus years ago. At least Battle of the Wastelands, I think I went through the writing group the first time, like in 2012. So, Serpent Sword is probably going to be a better book, just because this is something completely new rather than a continuous improvement over something I probably started writing in high school.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. This all sounds great. I'm really excited about Little People, Big Guns and about Battle for the Wastelands. Those are going to be two of my next reads, I think. After Horror Mayhem, because I'm reading mostly horror this month, and then I'm with Sean D. Standfast, who asked a question earlier, or who mentioned something earlier. Mm-hmm. We're doing a huge project. It's reading the entire future history of Isaac Asimov this year. And that's a lot of books. So I've already read probably 60 short stories, maybe something like that. And
I'm surprised you haven't lost your mind.
60 short stories. I don't know how many novels, and a whole bunch of novels left to come. But
okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to see and hear me all right? My battery is at half. I'm trying to turn the power down.
Yeah. We hear you.
A bit dark.
Yeah. No, you look fine.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, we can hear you. Did our picture ever improve?
Now it's looking a bit better now. It's still slightly pixelated.
Okay. Next time we may do this.
Like I look a lot sharper than y'all do, but y'all don't look too bad.
Okay. Yeah. See, we look sharp to us, but not to anybody else. So
that seems to be the way.
We should have just left the door open in here. I think that actually does help somewhat. We closed it this time, but that's all right. We have a light that shines through there, so we closed it this time. But
that, and we have a dog that likes to run through the house.
So are you a movie fan as well?
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of movies in theaters lately. I've been so busy. I did I'm part of the Metro Atlanta Geeks, so they did have early passes for Dune and The Northman, so I did see those.
Oh God, I want to see The Northman so bad.
Yeah, definitely see it because it's not covering its costs, and for once, someone tries to make an original movie and it fails.
Man, I hate that
Yeah, so, I mean,
because
see it as a civic duty. I mean, it's kind of slow, but it just looks good.
It's by the same guy who did The Witch, correct?
yes,
Yeah,
and
Eggers.
The Witch is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Mm.
It also has Anya Taylor-Joy, from The Witch in it.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Kelly, they're all everything on there is in Canada. Like one of my regular reviewers, Matt Steinberg, is Canadian.
Okay.
So definitely Kindle it. I mean, Amazon is everywhere.
Yeah. Can you get the paperback copies as well in Canada?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Yeah, I don't buy as many. We don't buy as many paper books as we used to because she reads 200 books a year or more, so we can't afford it.
Are the Dahlonega libraries part of Pines?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it might take you a while to get a book, but you have access to any number of books. I used to be a reporter for the Griffin Daily News. I lived in Lovejoy and McDonough, which you can see a lot of that in The Thing in the Woods. Like I have a friend who's a preacher and who was a preacher at a Methodist church in Griffin or Barnesville, actually. And he's like, yeah, this is Griffin, isn't it? Like, well, parts of it are like the main drag with the car dealerships and Phil's barbecue shop. That's Griffin.
I used to live in Griffin.
And the Best Buy, that's actually McDonough. And geographically, Eddington is probably located geographically around Sonoya, because Griffin is specifically described as being further east.
Okay. We used to spend our Saturday evenings at the Griffin Skate-In.
Oh, I think it's still there. At least it was when I worked there, but I worked there 2007, 2011, so who knows?
Yeah, she had no idea. We were talking about that just the other night if we thought Griffin Skate-In was still there. Because I'm not from here. I'm from Missouri. So I don't know the area all that well.
I think it was like the late 90s that we used to go to.
So it was there as of 2011.
Okay.
Oh, and anybody who doesn't know, Matthew lives about 65 or 70 miles from us south. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd take me about, I did one of my early book signings for Thing in the Woods was at the Mistletoe Market in Griffin.
Oh, I know.
And one of the city councilmen bought it for his son.
Cool.
Oh, neat.
Cool. Yeah, I was actually at Goodwill yesterday and was buying some books and I love to see that somebody was buying books for their grandkids, because there was this lady there kept trying to talk her grandkids out of buying books. Why don't you go get you another shirt, or something like that?
Somebody slapped that woman.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That they wanted to buy the Hunger Games books. And I was like, the Hunger Games is not high fiction as well, but I don't read much of that anyway. I think they're actually pretty well written books that I would definitely encourage my kids to read.
Discouraging people to read. No.
Right.
Especially this generation doesn't have Harry Potter like mine did. To make them like a mega phenomenon that makes everyone read.
Speaking of which, where's that set?
It's over there.
Oh, yeah. I just speaking of Harry Potter, I just bought the 7-book set on Amazon Marketplace for $20. It's or Facebook Marketplace for $20. It's the real nice paperback copies. It has $100 on it. Anyway, that's an aside. It's funny you said that because we just went 2 days ago and bought it.
Yeah, it bothers me. I don't care what your kid's reading. Encourage them to read.
Well, if you like Harry Potter, my first finished novel is actually a Harry Potter alternate universe fanfic called The Wrath of the Half-Blood Prince.
Cool.
I got the chapters out because I wanted reviews.
Yeah.
That's why I started getting the idea that writing group could be a way of encouraging me to work faster.
Yeah.
Because I like the attention. So that's how I finished Wrath of the Half-Blood Prince, which is about three or four times as long as one of the early Harry Potter books. Like about as long as the first 3 combined in about a year.
Oh my God.
And Lord of the Werewolves took a bit longer. That's the second one because I was co-writing it with another writer. but that's another novel length book. That's probably about as long as the first 2 or 3 combined.
Wow.
So if you're into Harry Potter, you might like that. And
So-
Lord of the Werewolves contains my most terrible, awful pun I have ever made.
I must know. I'm going to have to find it.
Yeah,
I love puns.
yeah. I don't want to give this away. Just go to fanfiction.net, read Lord of the Werewolves, and you'll recognize it when you get to it. I'll give you a hint. It involves Duran Duran.
Okay.
Yeah, fanfiction.net, and it's called what
Lord
now?
of the Werewolves.
Lord of the Werewolves.
Lord of the Werewolves. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, Remus Lupin breaks bad.
It had to happen eventually, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah, everyone
Okay.
just treats the poor man so badly.
Yeah, is your book printed by Amazon's printing?
Yeah, Amazon KDP print, which used to be Create Space.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Sean, you did. That is a good point, because the Cobb County Library, I donated a couple copies to the library, and suddenly they have a lot more copies in the Cobb County system that I donated. And I do remember somebody bought books on Amazon Expanded Distribution. I know that because they're paperbacks I got paid very little for. Maybe that was the Cobb Library. So out there in Radio Land, if you want to read my books but don't want to buy them, go to your local library and ask to stock them, because if they're all through Amazon Expanded Distribution, so maybe the libraries can order them easily.
Huh. Okay. That's
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Our library is really good, actually. It's tiny as it is. It's really good about getting books from other branches. Our library is tiny. I mean, it's
tiny, but it's brand new.
Yeah, it is. It's brand new.
And it's funny, all the people in town were just awful about them building a brand new library, because who needs a brand new library?
Yeah.
We don't
Again,
need things like books.
Wear out eventually.
Yeah.
The one that was the original library had been there since like the 50s or 60s.
Long time.
It's going to fall off the mountain.
It was tiny, and they ran out of room and all kinds of stuff. Now they got too much room, which is a better problem to have.
Yeah, it's sort of a civic center now. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, we do love I love going to the library. Becky kind of finds the libraries creepy.
Libraries are creepy. It's Ghostbusters' fault. Okay, so I have one more question. And it's my favorite question to ask. What's your favorite book?
I don't know. There are a lot of books I like. I mean, I have a lot of books. I mean, you can see the main bookshelf over there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Then a secondary bookshelf there. And I have even more books in my bedroom closet. I guess kind of rotate them in and out with the books in the main room here. So, I mean, yeah, just moving is a hellacious pain when you have all these books, because they're heavy. Like I probably have as many books on Kindle as I have my physical possession, but thing is, Amazon can delete books from the Kindle because you don't actually own it.
Yes. And it's a good thing I don't reread all that much. I do reread some things, because there are some things I would miss from my Kindle. Like if I went to look for, if it's something I want to go look at again or something I want to read again, Amazon could probably get away with deleting about 90% of my Kindle, and I'd never know it was gone because I have so much on there.
Yeah, like at risk of getting political, when that Trump book Fire and Fury came out and Trump was threatening to sue the publisher, I bought the physical book just in case.
Oh.
It's a good plan. Yeah, I go through books like the going out style. My book budget is basically Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
So I read one and download another one and replace it. So I don't have to really worry about that.
I have a lot of books piled up on Kindle Unlimited I haven't read yet. So technically, I think you can borrow as many as 15 now.
Yeah. 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 And that's a pretty good, that leads into another question. What do you think about Kindle Unlimited, since you're an author?
Well, I've been considering actually making a Long War wide, because I get more because the Wastelands world gets more Kindle Unlimited reading. Some months, Thing in the Woods and the Atlantic Incursion don't get much in the way of KU reading at all. But then in recent months, I got a couple thousand page views, which is 0.004 cents a word is like $8.
Right. Yeah. I understand how that could be discouraging too. Now
80% of the ebook market is Amazon. So am I going to make that much on Kobo? Maybe some of these library ones like Tolino or Overdrive.
Okay.
Yeah, Kobo is just not very widely used in the U.S. at all.
Yeah, I think Kobo's main thing is in Europe, because I have a couple short story novellas wide. They're set in Lindsay Broker's Fallen Empire universe. They're straight up military sci-fi. And I noticed I got some buys from the Netherlands.
Wow, cool. Kobo's fairly widely used in Canada as well. Mm-hmm. I still think Kindle is bigger there, but yeah.
I have no idea what Kobo is.
Kobo is another device.
Kobo for a while partnered with Walmart. Like they were selling Kobo readers in the stores, and you could buy Kobo books on Amazon on the Walmart webpage to fill it. I'm not sure if that's still a thing anymore. But that would have been cool, because as helpful as Amazon is, it is kind of a monopoly. Not monopoly. It has a very, very, very large market share.
Yeah.
To the point they can dictate terms a lot. Like Dave Schrader from my writing group, he has a lot of YA fantasy you can find on Amazon, like the Congruent Mage or the Congruent alien tech support stuff. And he said it'd be nice if you could have it in other non-Amazon outlets, just have it on Kindle Unlimited as well, because they check it out and you get paid for it. But because Amazon's market share is so dominant, exclusive.
Yeah. I get stuff. I get most of my stuff from Amazon. I won't lie, I really do. But if it's available somewhere else for the same price, there are times that I would rather, I'd rather buy an EPUB from somebody from a different company sometimes, and just read it on my one of my EPUB apps or something. But
I have Libby on my phone, and so you get audiobooks. Like I just listened to the audiobook Aliens Phalanx, which is 300 crossed with aliens, fighting the xenomorphs with shield walls.
Oh, Lord.
And then how Civil War started and how to stop them in audiobooks, because I have a long commute, so that keeps it fun. And it's free, because most audiobooks are ridiculously expensive.
They are.
And I'm glad to see your ebooks are not as expensive, or are not expensive, because I see some of these ebooks for like $20, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me for something I don't even really own?
I'll put my econ teacher hat on, lower price, higher quantity demanded.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because when I started reading ebooks, I started with the original Sony e-reader, like 20 years ago, something like that. I bought that thing, and I was surprised at how expensive they were then. But then I expected them to go down in price over time, and it just kind of never happened.
I started with a Nook.
Yeah, you started with a Nook.
I think I had like 6
still around.
Yeah, it is
still there.
Yeah, yeah. They're even releasing new versions, and I'm really surprised about that. I think they're trying to revive it, but it's just not happening because Kindle.
Waterstone, the British company, a few years ago bought Barnes and Noble, and they were going to turn everything around, or try to at least. I haven't heard much since.
Okay.
Yeah, I like my Amazon Fire that I use. I have a 10-inch Amazon Fire. I'll show it. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm with Kelly on this. She says she's a hybrid reader, listens to script, read the books, or if it's a chunker, I need the ebook too. I agree, but only because I tend to drop big books on my face.
Well, Becky hates hardcovers.
Well, Kindle Unlimited, if something on Kindle Unlimited and there's an audio version, you can listen to the audiobook for free. Like I did that with Devolution, the Max Brooks Bigfoot horror book.
Yeah.
And then there's this one about the Norman Conquest that I just listened to it like it was an audiobook because I checked out on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay. I had no idea you could get them for free like that.
Mark
That's cool.
Morris's book on the Norman Conquest, I think. Can't remember the title.
Yeah, Devolution is one that we've been talking about reading. If it had been shorter, I would have read it for this month for folk horror, but it's just not under 250 pages.
Well, the audiobook, they went ham on it. Like they have Nathan Fillion and Catherine Mulgrew, the captain from Voyager.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other like real voice actors. Like I Am the Wendigo was one of my church friends reading it on a friend of my other friend's podcast equipment.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And King of the Woods was a bit of an upgrade. They use a professional voice actor, but it's still one narrator. Devolution is a full-on audio drama with multiple voice actors. Like they invested in this.
They did the same with what is his other book? Max Brooks' other book.
World War Z.
World War Z. They did the same thing with World War Z. I had an audio book of that, and it had Alan Alda, and that's the only one I remember. But I know it had some people even more famous than him doing the voice acting, and it was really well done. It was fun to listen to. But I still haven't read Devolution, but I want to.
Okay, so my last question, we've an hour has come and gone, but my last question is, do you ever get discouraged, and how do you get past it if you do?
Well, sometimes when my various advertising schemes don't work, like I have like BookBub paid for itself big time when I got a BookBub for Thing in the Woods.
Yeah,
but some of the lesser known services, not so much. Like if you're an indie author, a lot of advertising is real pay to play.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you're making more than you're spending.
Yeah.
And the closest I'm aware of ever coming is I spent $50 on advertising and made $43 in royalties that month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I've heard somewhere that you might want to have like a low spend ad running.
Oh, no. Yes, gracious, we lost him.
Yeah. This is a great interview, though. I'm hoping that's not us that's gone. So anybody, do you still hear us? We're just wanting to make sure. Yeah, Becky's going to go see if we're still live here.
Yeah, internet.
Okay, they still hear us right now.
Dang, we are grainy.
Are we? Let's see. Okay,
no.
he's probably going to log back in.
We look like an old bad transfer of a horror movie.
Yeah. So does anybody? Yeah, I don't know why that's happening. That hasn't happened. I think it's because we got the door closed. What do you think?
Because we live in the armpit of the universe, but
yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah, that's not what I call it normally. Oh, his battery died probably. Okay. But yeah, I mean, if you have any interview or if you have any questions, feel free to post them here. And if he gets to come back, then he'll get to answer those. If not, we're going to have him on again. This is, here we go.
% battery.
There we go.
And then I figured it had another hour or at least in it, and suddenly just gone.
I have noticed those StreamYard, the StreamYard site, and doing this for some reason will destroy a battery. We have noticed that. That's why I stay plugged in while we do this. We didn't used to. And then when we would finish, we would be at like 2%, cutting it very close.
Yeah, so is everyone still there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, just make sure to lose anybody.
No, we're still here. Everybody's still kicking.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sitting at a different place than I usually sit, and I just left the charger over there and I unplugged it. I figured it's at least had 3 hours.
Oh no, that's cool. We had that happen to us once when we initiated the interview with One of
Ellie, what's her name? Ellie, is it Ellie Baker?
No.
Ellie. I can't remember. She's a cozy mystery author.
Yeah, cozy mystery author. She's one of the most popular cozy mystery authors in existence. And then we get on there, and her mom calls and cuts us off. If you take a call on her phone, it will cut off the interview.
No, you don't even have to take the call. You just receive a call and it'll ring and it'll cut off the interview.
Yeah.
And then it's gone forever. You have to create a different interview. And everybody who's in the chat has to go over to the new interview.
It works.
Oh my gosh.
It worked though.
It worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad this one's going all right, because usually our sound, it's not our picture that goes out, it's the sound. I would almost rather have the picture be a little bit pixelated and everybody be able to hear it.
Yeah, your volume went down a smidge.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. So how we remedy that is just to move closer to the microphone so everybody can still hear it.
And just yell strategically.
Yeah, but again, we live in, like she called it, the armpit of the universe. I call it something a little more derogatory, but still sucks.
Be nice.
But yeah.
Well, is it jumping back in? You do get discouraged. I imagine every author does. What do you do to get past it?
When I realize, the long tail principles at work, most people just kind of slave away for years and years, and then the mega successes, typically there's a big foundation there. And plus, like with some of these things, like if I buy a BookBub, they'll read the first book, then the second. But there's not more in a set than the second. None of my series are that far along. So if I get a BookBub for the first book, then 5, 6, 7 books, then the money comes in. So I just simply do not have a large enough backlist.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah.
So it's just a matter of Jeff Baker, who used to be in my writing group. He went to LibertyCon, and he said that he was told, churn and burn. Because no one is marketing but me. But then again, if a big publisher, unless you're like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling, they won't market you either.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that the other day. How a big publisher, they're not going to do you the favor of actually marketing for you. No matter who's publishing, whether it's you or your publisher, you're going to have to do a huge portion of your marketing. I guess you just have to have the backbone for it.
Well, that's something Nikki said last week too. She said that the publishing company will do some, but she said they really don't live up to what they promise a lot of times.
Yeah, I don't think they send authors on book tours very often anymore. Brian Keene, one of his books I read, it's like his chronicle of his book tour, but that's a very rare thing these days.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You bet.
I have asked my questions. I have been inquisitive and nosy, and I've come to the end.
Yeah. But this has been a great interview. Is there anything you want to let the audience know? Well, let them know where to find you. Number one, where to find your books,
Okay.
Facebook, all.
Most of my stuff, especially the stuff you're most interested in, like The Thing in the Woods, The Atlantic Incursion, Battle for the Wasteland, Son of Grendel, those are Amazon exclusive, Kindle Unlimited. There's some of my lesser known stuff is wide, like my short stories, I Am the Wendigo, Melon Heads, Picking Up Plans in Palma, that's alternate history. Flashing Steel, Flashing Fire, that's a short story collection I have, that's wide. I'm a regular participant in the film podcast, Myopia Movies. Our most recent episode is about Treasure Planet, which when that came out in high school, when that came out and I was in high school, it's like galleons in space. That is so dumb. But then I actually watched it. This is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Even if it's got the Goo Goo Dolls soundtrack of all things.
I still get a kick out of the RLS Legacy.
Yeah, and of course, the podcast, Myopia Movies, even if the movie's good, we still kind of make fun of it. So there are a lot of furry jokes in the episode.
I can see that.
And I was convinced the dog was after the mom. Like a middle-aged bachelor who's always hanging around a bar run by a harried single mom. he might have some ulterior motives. And spoiler alert, he hooks up with the cat lady.
Right?
Yeah, we're gonna
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
we're gonna be starting a movie podcast soon, or it's a movie YouTube channel, kind of in a podcast format.
All about horror.
Yeah, all about horror movies, horror novels as well. It's going to be a horror podcast. But if you'd ever like to watch a movie and come on there with us, we would love that too.
Oh, I'd definitely be up for it. I mean,
okay.
Getting it, I don't want to do it too often, but I don't want to spread myself too thin time-wise.
Yeah.
But I could definitely drop in for an episode or two. Like, have you heard of The Guyver?
Yes, but I'm not sure.
I think I have a blog. We did an episode on The Guyver for Myopia Movies years ago. It's Patreon right now. But I have a blog post I wrote called "How I Would Have Done The Guyver."
Oh, cool. I just wrote that down.
What is The Guyver?
It's based on like a manga or anime about this high school student who finds this alien armor that bonds with him, and he fights like criminals and these mutant warriors who are members of this evil corporate conspiracy. And the movie has Mark Hamill as a CIA agent.
Oh, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And his acting, his ability to convey agony has gotten much better in 1990 than it was with Return of the Jedi when he's getting zapped.
Yeah. Yeah, or when he lost his hand, and yeah.
There's the Skywalker whining gene. How many ways can you say no?
So you are a Star Wars fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm this can get tricky because The Last Jedi, the throne room battle was beautiful.
Yeah.
And the kamikaze with the hyperdrive was beautiful. But that line, we're going to survive not by killing what we hate, by saving what we love, that was so dumb.
Yeah.
They had to have a comic book put out where Rose is talking to Leia about the Fabian strategy. You win by not losing and live to fight another day rather than go out in glory like Poe Dameron or Finn would have.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make a whole comic book to dig yourself out of a hole your dialogue puts you in.
That was really atrocious dialogue.
And then Rise of Skywalker, they have The Force Awakens was too nostalgic. It was too unoriginal. The Last Jedi, they tried to be new and creative, and a lot of people just made it mad. So then they Frankensteined it together. And so you end up with somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been so much better if Hux had just staged a military coup and Kylo's on the run. And then he hooks up with Rey in both senses of the word. That would have been better.
Yeah. I think the books are actually better than the films. They explain it very well, and they go a couple of different ways. And if a dialogue is too cheesy, they just change it in the books.
Yeah, I haven't read the Attack of the Clones novelization because that's one of the movies that's notorious for the terrible dialogue.
Oh God, yeah.
But I've read the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, and it is freaking dark.
Yeah. Yes.
Like before Anakin leaves for Mustafar, it's like almost domestic violence territory. Like he's thinking he loves seeing Padme scared, and he's like telling her not to associate with certain people anymore. Like that's like wife beater territory before he starts choking her.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I read that book. God, long time. Probably not more than 3 years after the movie came out. So
and then they have Anakin making bad jokes, killing the Separatist leaders. Like, he promised us a handsome reward. Like, I am your reward. Am I not handsome?
Yeah,
and there's no.
Yeah, it became a meme. The "I hate sand" meme from episode 2. Good God, that movie. It had more cringeworthy parts than cheery bits.
If you ever watch Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures, like the YouTube animated video, the battle between Yoda and Dooku is much more impressive as a cartoon. Like it's not 6 foot tall Christopher Lee trying to squash a bouncing gopher.
Yeah.
Sean, the Guyver. The Guyver with Mark Hamill. People keep getting confused with MacGyver. They're not the same thing.
Yeah, Sean's got a bit of a dark sense of humor too.
Wow.
Sean's got a great YouTube channel. If you're ever looking for a good booktube channel, man, his stuff is great. He's prolific. He's intellectual. He's great.
He's a smarty pants.
Yeah.
Well, if we're doing recommendations, you guys know about Books of Blood, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's actually one of our hosts for this.
Yeah, because he read Thing in the Woods. I don't think he didn't like it as much as Atlantic Incursion. He loved the Atlantic Incursion, and he loved Little People, Big Guns.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm definitely sending him The Walking Worm when I get around to actually finishing it.
Cool. Yeah, we like John a lot. Books of Blood is a cool channel. He's got a lot of good stuff over there.
Mm-hmm.
He likes a lot of horror movies as well, like we do. But I mean, it's about books, and yeah, I like John. He was the first or the second or third. No, he might have been the very first host of this event that I contacted. I can't remember, but I've always been fond of his show, and then he agreed to do this, and I was really happy. So John's cool.
So, yeah, but I think we were talking about where you can find me elsewhere. Myopia podcast, and there is a Myopia episode on Revenge of the Sith. Nick, the host, is commenting. He's like, "Listen to Matt yell no a lot." I rewatched the Revenge of the Sith for the podcast, and I was just angry.
Yeah,
because when I first saw the movie in theaters, I was like laughing for 15 minutes after the movie ended. You know, Palpatine telling Anakin, Vader, whatever, he had killed Padme when he was trying to save her. That's like the ultimate tragedy. But I just could not stop laughing.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be sad. So I make that abundantly clear in the Myopia episode about Revenge of the Sith, and I'm in a lot of Myopia episodes. You just scroll through the webpage, Myopia Movies, you'll find a lot of episodes I'm in.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, we'll go do that.
And
the next couple of days, actually.
And I have Twitter at Matthew W. Quinn, which every so often I think about, I'm just going to quit Twitter because it's a cesspool.
Yeah, it is.
And I tweet, and I realize only a few people actually see my tweets.
Yeah. Yeah,
but Twitter stuff like these Twitter pitch parties I want to participate in, and like use Twitter as a means to like communicate with people directly, like tweeting at somebody.
Yeah.
So as much of a time suck it is, it's actually too useful just to ditch.
Sure. Yeah, that is the excuse I've heard from a whole lot of people as to the reason they haven't gotten rid of it. That it is useful. It's just like you said, it is a complete cesspool.
Maybe Elon Musk will save our civilization by buying Twitter and then selling it for parts. Twitter no longer exists. I'm going to like corporate rate it and sell every asset, like all the computers to one company, the buildings to another. It's just gone, salt the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you don't help.
You have Instagram?
No.
Okay.
I do have a YouTube channel.
You do?
But I don't really know how to edit on like film. I probably could I used to know how to use iMovie when I was in high school, so I probably figure it out. But again, time. So videos or everything is in one take.
Yeah, us too. Yeah, we have done a few videos where we'll add a few things, take away a couple of things, but for the most part,
just can't be bothered.
Yeah, I'm too lazy to edit.
Yeah, like my YouTube channel, it has like a couple of videos on my live reading the first chapter. Yeah, so hopefully my students won't find it and hear me like dropping F-bombs. Especially because I had a little meeting of like the book club with like the teacher authors, and some of the kids are reading it and they're like, Mr. Quinn. Because I'm always telling the kids not to cuss.
Oh. Yeah.
And yet here, the human sacrifice, again, Thing in the Woods, there's
yeah,
cussing and worse.
You hypocrite, you.
Yeah.
I just say, well, that's not me talking, that's a character, and Reed gets his, don't worry about it.
Hey, he does.
And it's
Goodness.
not even a dignified or glorious death. It's played for laughs.
You know,
Does anybody lock their doors around here?
I actually really liked that whole scene. Yeah.
yeah.
His was a great death, even if it was for giggles.
Yeah. I love to see him get his ass beat. But anyway, yeah, I think we're going to cut it, but this has been great.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have my blog, www.accordingtoquinn.com. I don't really post much there anymore because, triage, you got to cut something. So, I mean, I have the review of The Northman, and I have a review of Tim Meyer's new Western book, Pteranodon Canyon. But like those are my only 2 blog posts this year.
Okay.
Because just
Quinn.com.
www.accordingtoquinn.com. I have the newsletter sign up there as well. I have a MailChimp newsletter.
Okay. I don't think I've signed up for that yet, or am I? Maybe I did that early on.
I think
I
you did.
remember.
I don't.
Okay. If not, I'll go ahead and do that tonight.
Yeah, because I have a book signing in Alpharetta on the 21st at the Avalon Posman Books.
Oh.
Okay.
What?
So
where?
Okay, in Alpharetta, there's a development called Avalon. I used to work for a newspaper in Alpharetta, and they were building it when I left. Now it's this gigantic live, work, play development. And there's a Posman Books. It's like an independent bookstore. Like there's one at Pond City Market in Atlanta. I've had 2 signings there. There's one at Avalon, which I went there yesterday to check it out for the signing in 2 weeks. And I think there's a Posman Books in New York City, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna see if we can get to that. That'll be great.
Yeah. So it's the May 21st from 1 to 4 at the Posman Books in Avalon, and there's parking near the Ted's Montana Grill and the PNC Bank, and there's also decks, but that's the easiest parking to get to because Posman Books are right there.
That's a Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, Saturday, May 21st.
Okay, cool. From 1 to 4. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try to make it.
Yeah, see what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything you're willing to buy, I'll sign for you because I have lots of my convention inventory. I bought lots of it for events that were canceled because of COVID. And plus all the supply chain issues and the mail being somewhat slower.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had anything arriving late. In fact, some stuff's been arriving pretty quickly, like faster than I thought it would be. But, stock up just in case. So my apartment risks looking like those failed authors who have like hundreds of copies of their books they can't sell.
Okay.
But I just go to a lot of events, so I always want to have enough stock on hand.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're excited about that then.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. It depends on what time you can get off work.
Yeah, it's a Saturday. We'll work it out.
Okay. So yeah, we'll do our best to be there. That'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you so much for joining us. This was a really, really good interview.
Yeah. This was fun. Yeah, this was fun, and we'd love to have you back on. I'll let you know when we're starting the podcast, and I'll occasionally send you a list of movies that we're going to be reviewing and stuff, and see if you want to be involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be something I can do occasionally because I still need to finish Serpent Sword.
Sure.
And so a great big chunk of Walking Worm is done, maybe a quarter of it. If I just need to sit down and make myself do it. But Walking Worm takes place at UNC Chapel Hill. The devil has fulfilled his end of the bargain.
Cool.
From the end of the Atlanta incursion. But so that means I need to do research. Like I've never been to Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I'm probably not gonna have time to go up there and drive there. Somebody's gonna hit up Google Maps, I suppose. Like I've never been to Valdosta, but all the sequences where Amber's like in her dorm, I just got off the almighty internet.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna try to beat that thing though. But yeah, I'll send you lists, and you can pick one out whenever you want to. I mean, one every now and then is just fine. That is great with us.
Yeah, and if it's a YouTube video, I can include it in my newsletter. Like I'm going to send out a newsletter the morning of, because it's the morning of the the morning of the book signing, because it's every 2 weeks. So yesterday and the day of the book signing are both on the rotation. So if this video is ready by then, I'll include it in the newsletter.
Okay.
And
yeah, this video here will actually go out as soon as this is over. So
it'll start uploading in as soon as the interview is over.
Okay, yep. I'll include that in the newsletter on the 21st then.
Cool.
And any videos I'm in later, I'll include those, because I've included like Myopia podcast YouTube episodes in the newsletter before, and booktube things like Books of Blood. I think I included those videos as embeds in newsletters.
Cool. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So aspiring writers out there, that's something you can do with video. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm. Just keep bringing people's attention to it.
Yeah. And if somebody would like to do an interview or something like that, just ask away.
Oh yeah, bring it on. We like talking to people.
We like talking to people. Other booktubers would love to do interviews. They're just a little bit shy to ask. So
you can't. What's worst they can do is say no.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a general life philosophy. I'm a little too hesitant sometimes. But yeah, there's a inspirational quote I remember when I was in high school. Looking back, and regret what you didn't do more than what you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, okay, maybe killing somebody, that's something I regret doing, but I mean, typically.
Yeah.
Well,
it's okay.
There are always exceptions.
It's okay to regret doing it if you're on your deathbed and you can't get up and do it anymore. Then you can regret something like that. But anyway, yeah.
Like the full quote is like, cast off the sails, explore. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a good quote. All right. So, have you asked all your questions?
I think so.
All right. So
anyone
we're going
out there in Radio Land, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Does anybody else have a question for Matthew? I mean, you can ask us questions, but
everybody's silent.
But everybody knows everything about us. Everybody who's on here.
We're not exactly shy.
No, looks like.
Yeah, looks like we're done.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us, Matthew. This was great.
Yeah, we had a great time. This was a blast.
Okay, and I'll have to make a note of when the signal went out so I can mark in the newsletter. Just skip over this
part. Yeah. Oh.
Darn it, Sean. It's the answer to everything.
Is that from Hitchhikers? Because I could swear that's the answer to all of life is 42, but also in Star Trek they have 47 as like their running joke.
42 and a towel.
42 is the answer to the universe. A towel is something you can't leave home without.
Yeah.
But, we're never going to get off of this.
Yeah, we will.
I keep talking.
Okay, well, I need to do some things. So if we need to end it, we need to end it.
Yep,
we're done. Thank you so much. You have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, and remember, we would love to have you on again. So we will be in touch.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.